Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. Start already. Today's session, which is number 3 in the data management badging series. Today we're going to learn all about the company archive feature, which is actually often misunderstood. My name is Abby and I am going to be your host for today. I also have Laura on hand today to answer your questions. The webinar is going to last approximately 30 minutes, depending on how many questions we have outstanding at the end, so you may get some time back today. Like every session, there is going to be recording, and you will receive that in your follow-up email, which will be sent out around an hour after the session has ended. So some of you may be new to our session, so I just want to go through a little bit of housekeeping. So what you will see is you will be placed on mute automatically. You can't unmute yourself. If you wish to ask any questions, then you can use the questions panel down the right-hand side. And it's just that little speech bubble icon with the question mark in the middle. That will open up the panel, and then you can send your questions across to us. Do make sure that you do press that little blue send button so me and Laura can pick your questions up. There is also a handout for today. You click on the little icon that looks like a document with a folded corner. We always recommend to download these handouts on the session, as they will have some helpful links to some resources as well. If just for the badging series, if you do want to, you've forgotten to download it on the live on the session, you can get access to it on our recordings page, and that link will be included in your follow-up email as well. So keep an eye out for that follow-up email. Okay, so just a little bit more about the badging series. So to earn your digital badge, you need to attend 5 out of 7 topics and the quiz to be able to earn your digital badge. So as you can see, we've got plenty of sessions for you to attend. So we've got backing up, the data management tool, company archives, which is what we're going to be covering today. We've got clearing your audit trail, that's removing old transactions, deleting your records, your customers, your suppliers, nominal codes of bank accounts, clearing your stock, and also how to flag records as inactive and hide them from your lists. And like I say, at the end, we always do a little fun quiz to test your knowledge. You don't have to get all the answers right. It's just your attendance that counts. What you can do with this badge is you can actually put it on your email signature. You can, pop it on LinkedIn, share it with your colleagues. It's entirely up to you how you utilize that. Okay, so let's cover what's going to be shown in today's session. So we're going to start by covering what is an archive. So there's always, like I say, there's a big misconception of what an archive actually does. We're going to do some demonstrations, so how to take an archive, how to access an archive. We'll cover some frequently asked questions, and then also the differences. So what's the difference between a backup and a clear audit trail as well? And then towards the end, we'll look at further support, and that's where we'll wrap up any final questions. So just got a question that come in there. I just want to cover this. So I attended all the sessions and quiz. How do I get my badge? So your badge will be sent out to you in due course via email, and it'll come via something called Credible. So keep an eye out for that, but it will be sent to you in due course. Now I just want to launch a quick poll on your screen there. And I'm just wanting to know, what is your current understanding of the company archives? What does it do? Does it remove all data, take a read-only copy of your data, or does it back up your data? So all you need to do is just pop an answer on there, pick one. It doesn't, if you don't know, just take a guess, just to get a bit of understanding of where people are at with this topic already. So I can see our answers are starting to come through already. We usually wait until we get around 70, 75%. So get your votes in there for me, and then I'll I'll share the results with you as well. Okay, so we've got around 75%. Don't worry if you haven't voted. I'll just close that poll down. So as you can see, 15% of you think it removes data. 76% of you think it takes a read-only copy of your data, and 9% think it backs up your data. So if you answered takes a read-only copy of your data, you would be correct. The other two is the big misconception of what people think an archive does. They primarily think it removes all data, and it doesn't. But I'm going to go more into that in just a moment. Okay, so I'll hide that poll down. Let's get stuck in. So an archive takes a read-only copy of your data as it appears in the program at that time, including any logon details. The best way to describe it is like it's taking a photograph or a snapshot of your data, but it allows you to browse through it like a normal company. You cannot add anything new, and the only elements you can edit or remove is records for GDPR purposes, like your customers or your suppliers. The point of the archive is that it allows you to revisit historical data, view figures, and run reports. But please note, anything you change in the archive does not open in the live data, update in the live data, and vice versa. So anything you change in the live data will not update the archive. You must have the right access to create an archive and to access it. If you log in as manager, you will automatically have access. But if you log in and you do not see the options that you're going to see today, then you will have to have your level of access reviewed via the manager logon. It does not remove any information from the program. So if you did this today, whilst live on the session with me, that is not going to change anything in your program. It's not going to change any data. All it's going to do is it's going to take a snapshot. So what it does is it creates a file that is then saved within your company folder on your data path, which then can be opened like a separate company to your live data. Please be aware, attachments are not included in your company archive, so we always recommend to take a backup of your attachments. And lastly, you need to have access to the software to be able to view your archive file. Please note as well, archive files do not sync over remote data access, but like I say, anybody can take an archive at any site as well. So you might be wondering, well, when might I take an archive? So you can take an archive at any point in time. There's no time limit on how many times you can take one, but we strongly recommend that you take one prior to running year end, or any time you run a clear audit trail. So for example, you may run a clear audit trail straight after running the year end. So if you've already taken one in archive at year end, you wouldn't need to take it again. But if you were to run a clear audit trail, for example, mid-year, then you want to be taking a backup in an archive prior. But also as well, any significant changes. So for example, you're going to be clearing your records down as well. So deleting old customer or supplier records, product records, invoices and credits, sales orders, purchase orders, that sort of thing. Okay, so let's just take a look at, in a more visual way as in when would you take an archive? So in terms of the year-end process, you might then run a VAT return and submit. You might then run a clear audit trail a couple of months later. Then you do another reconcile of a VAT return, another quarter. And then you might clear some records down. And then towards the end of the year, you might start to prepare for your year end. So when you're doing the year end process, you'd run a backup and an archive. When you're just doing a VAT return, just a backup is fine. If you're going to run a clear audit trail, you know, a few months after your year end, you might want to run a backup and an archive. And when I say might, you do want to, rather. Again, if you're going to do like say you could do that VAT return, just run a normal backup. If you're going to clear some records down, some customers and suppliers, then run that backup and that archive again. But what we'll do now is we'll go into some demonstration on how you can run that archive and how to access it. So I'll pop over to my software. So you may have done an archive before without even realizing it. So when you run year end, it comes up as one of the options. So if we pop into tools, period end, year end, in your prepare for year end section, you can see here, we've got the archive your data. Now this is always ticked as default. So the only other way that you wouldn't have an archive is if it's been unticked manually. So you may go into where we're going to show you where to open your company archives. You may have some that have been done every single year end without even realizing it. So you can see it's in here, part of your year end process, or you can take an archive manually. So if we go to tools, back to period end, you've got this option here, archive company. Again, if you don't see this option, then it could be that down to your level of access. So click on there, and you're presented with this window here. Now you can't change where the archive is saved. It will always be saved in your data path. So you cannot change that location. But what you can do is you can rename the description, but also as well the name of the archive folder. So I'm just going to leave mine as mid-year. So about halfway through, well, we're most of the way through 2025. So I'm going to call this mid-year. So I'm just going to click OK. And you can see the archive process has been complete. It's not changed anything. All it's done is it's taken a snapshot of my data so then I can access it at a later date. Now, we often get the question is that, well, what's the point of doing an archive? I don't see the point of doing one. The point is that some reports you can only run in your current financial year. So you might get someone that comes to you and say, well, actually, I need a profit and loss from 2 years ago. Well, you can only run the profit and loss for your current financial year. So what you can do is you can go into your old company archive from 2 years ago and run the profit and loss. And I'll show you how to do that. So that process is complete. So we'll click OK. So say my colleague wants profit and loss 2 years ago. I go File, Open, Company Archive. And here is my list of company archives. So you might go into that window and you see that you've actually got your company archives for every year end. We also get the question as well, how many years do I need to keep? That is entirely up to you. I know sometimes HMRC recommend to keep 6 years worth. So you might want to keep 6 years worth of archives. So for example, okay, well I've got my year end 2023. So I'll open up this one. You can see my mid-year 2025 is in there as well, so that's the one I've just taken. Don't worry as well if your archives are in an older version, the software will convert that for you. Now, when it asks for the password, you do need to enter the password that existed at the time that the archive was taken. If you don't remember the password that you had at that point, then you can contact our support team and they can assist you with that. So we'll pop in the password. Realize this one is actually for 2024, but you can see my point there. So you can see along the top, we've got Sage accounts. It's telling me that I'm in the archive. It's telling me year end 2023, and it's giving me the company name. So that's how I know I'm in my archive. If I was to go to my customers, and I was to try and pop in a batch invoice, it's going to tell me, shut me down straight away. You're in an archive data set or in read-only mode. So you can't add any new transactions or anything like that. You can, if you wanted to, come in here and, you know, if the old customers, you don't need their data anymore, again, for GDPR purposes, you can come in here and you can delete. If you want to delete a section, you want to delete so many customers, you can then delete in batch as well. Could be that you want to change the details. So if I can pop in here, okay, we've got to contact Ian Cairns. You want to change this to Joe Blogs, save. Again, that's not going to reflect in my live company. But again, if you might have already changed it in your live company, you just need to come in here and update the details in your company archive. So a couple of the benefits in here. So it could be that you need to look at some transactions that have since been removed by the Clear Audit Trail process. I know we've got a question that's come in there from Debbie. So what is the Clear Audit Trail? So the Clear Audit Trail process will clear the transactions that appear in your transactions module. There is a session, I'm not going to go into detail today, but there is a full session on the Clear Audit Trail process. But the Clear Audit Trail process is what removes the transactions from your software. So it might be that you want to come and have a look at a historical invoice. I don't have any in here in this example, but you might have some old invoices that you've since removed from your live data. So you can then come in here and you can view them, print them, whatever you need to do from your archive. Another benefit, again, as I've mentioned, management reports. So someone might come to you and say, well, I need a trial balance or a profit and loss, and I need it from 2023 or 2024 or whatever year. You go to the archive for that financial year, and you can run them within the that financial year. It's almost like it's frozen in time. So I'll click preview. You can see I can select the date, so I'm just going to leave those as they are. I know we said we went into 2023, but the financial year in this one is 24. Click OK. It looks exactly the same as the normal one. The only difference is it's telling me that it's in the archive. It's an archive report and which archive it is. Okay. If we were to go back to the live data, we go back to File, you go back to Open, you select Company Data, and then this is just going to automatically ask you to log back into your live data. So we'll wait for that to come up, pop in our live details. And you can see now archive is no longer showing along the top. So that means I'm in my live data. If we go back into customers, you can see I changed A1 Design Services, I changed Ian's name to Joe Blogs, but again, that's obviously not going to reflect in my live company or in my archive. Question there from Lucy, can you use it to see old reports as well as such as a nominal activity? So if you wanted to, yes, you could run a nominal activity report. Again, they're going to be in the previous financial year, so it's not going to have any new transactions in there, but you can run all the reports, standard reports that you see in your live company that are included in your software, not customized. I think customized might show. If I do think I'll have to double check that one, but customized reports and layouts might show, but standard definitely do. Any of the standard reports you can run in your archive as well. So that is the company archive. It's a relatively small feature. It's very simple, but very useful if you do need to refer back to historical data and run reports in a different financial year, or you need to gather information on transactions that have since been removed by the Clear Audit Trail option. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop back to my slides. Again, keep your questions coming. We've had a couple come through, and Laura's just picking those up. Okay, so these are the questions that we often get asked on these sessions. So the first one is, after archiving, can you then delete old records you no longer use, such as customers, suppliers, and nominals? Archiving is just one part of a process to reduce the size of your data. You're unable to clear records until you've ran a clear audit trail. So you can't delete any old customer or supplier records if they still have activity. But again, all of that is going to be covered in the clear audit trail process. Do I have to specify a date to run an archive? So it creates a snapshot, read-only copy, of your data as it is at that point in time, including current and historical data. So you don't specify a date like you would the clear audit trail. Now, you might find that some of your archives will overlap with the data that it has in, because it just takes, everything as it is at that point in time, old and new, that you can see in your transactions module, in every single module. Can I select certain areas of the software to archive? So no, it will always make a full copy of everything in the software as it is today, new and old, as I've just mentioned. Okay, so again, a bit of a comparison, because like I say, everybody always gets these three mixed up. So the archive takes a read-only copy of your data and it stores it within your data path. You open it like a separate company, and it does not remove transactions from your data, and you also do not specify a date to run the archive. The backup, again, does take a copy of your data, but it's a little bit different. So this can be saved anywhere you wish. It is designed to be restored into the program, either over the top of live data or as a separate company, if your license allows you to do so. Once restored in, you can edit, delete, and add new information from that backup. If you are going to restore over the top of live data, please do this with caution. If you do want any more information about backing up and restoring, we do have sessions on this as well. And then lastly, we've got the clear audit trail. So the clear audit trail process is to remove all the transactions to reduce the size of your data and keep things tidier and more organized. You would enter a date that you want to clear up to. So for example, you wanted to keep 6 years worth of data, you would enter a chosen date, and then anything before that date removed would be removed given it fits the criteria. Question there from Gavin, is there a recommended database size or max size? So we do have a guide, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what it's called. I'm sure Laura might be able to find that article for me for the recommended data sizes, recommended how many splits to have, how many records to find, and things like that. So just bear with me, I might have to reach out to you with that one there, Gavin. Okay, to summarise. So archiving creates a read-only copy of your data, including all historical and current information. It does not remove any transactions. You can take archives at any time, but it is typically done as part of the year end or before running the clear audit trail. You will need to use the same user credentials you used when creating the archive. And the benefits are, it enables you to view historical data, edit and delete records, and run reports. The only thing you can't do is add any new data. On your handout, I have provided some guides here. So you've got the archive company, backing up your data, and also clearing your audit trail as well. Okay, so just before we move on, just want to let you know this is the last chance to get your questions through to me and Laura, and hopefully we can pick them up before we end the session. So get your questions across now if you can. Again, don't forget to download the handout as well. It's just that little icon with the the document with a folded corner. Just a reminder as well, we've got plenty of sessions that are available on our Help Centre. Again, completely free to yourselves, whether you want to watch them for 50 accounts. We've also got them for 50 payroll. We've got the recordings on there. And we also have webinars for Sage Business Cloud Accounting and also Sage Business Cloud Payroll as well. Want to access to those, just pop in the web address sage.co.uk/webinars. Okay, so that does bring us to the end of today's session. If you've got what you need today and you want to leave the session, you will receive an email in around an hour or so with links to both our webinar schedule and today's recorded session for you to refer back to if needs be. You will also receive a short survey on today's session. If you could please fill out that survey for me. What did you like about the webinar? What could I have done better? What would you have liked to have seen? I do like to read every single comment. So if you can just pop whether we want to leave a short comment, a long comment, anything is appreciated. Okay, so that's all the questions that have been answered. So I'll wrap this up. I want to say thank you to Laura, who's been on hand today to answer your questions. And thank you to you all for your participation today. Just a reminder, we've got plenty of sessions over the next couple of weeks, so don't be shy and get registered. So I want to say another thank you and take care.